The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Dueling Comedians, where two comedians clash to see whose comedy kills and who gets killed.
Figuratively speaking, of course.
All this to determine who claims the coveted Dueling Comedians trophy. This is Dueling Comedians.
You are tuned into Dueling Comedians, as you just heard. And if you're not tuned into Dueling Comedians, then I am wasting my breath right now. But sitting next to me is a good buddy of mine, a longtime friend, one of the most prolific and funny people I know, entrepreneurial in spirit, if I might say. He does just about everything. And before I go on too long and gush and blush about this man, let me introduce him. This is Jim McCue.
Hello, Tony V.
How are you, Jim?
Thank you for having me in the beautiful Dueling Comedians comedy complex here, podcast center.
It's great, isn't it? Nice.
It is a beautiful thing.
You know, the first time I walked in here, I said, when I inevitably get thrown out of here, this will be one of the nicest places I ever get thrown out of.
Right away, I was suspicious. Yeah. I was like, I'm here to work, right?
Right. You actually want me here, right?
A free cigar? I'm like, where's the trap door? This is a setup deal here.
And let's be honest, for those of you who are watching this, and I'll tell you so in case
it's like when they tell you you're going to be a made man and you step in the room and you're on plastic.
No. Right. No.
Great.
I only do this, they don't know it, and I guess I'll out myself right now, is I got to say the cigars are a big draw.
All right, yeah. No,
nobody bats an eye.
You're my cigar mentor.
Yeah, I know.
So I know if you are into this two guys smoke shop, it must be a great place.
Great. I remember that story you told me about your lovely wife, Bernadette.
Yes.
When we were on the road, we were at the Borgata
in Atlantic
City for a week.
Right.
And as we are wont to do, I would smoke a cigar periodically.
Our full schedule was find a poker game.
Yes.
Smoke a couple of cigars at every poker game.
Right.
Find a diner or pie shop. Repeat.
Right.
All day until we had to perform at night.
Right. And then the show would get in the way of
it totally
our good
messed
time.
our karma up.
Right. And then when you came back, you had a cigar.
Yep.
And your wife said, "Oh, you smoking cigars now?" And
I said, "No, I got a couple left."
I got a couple left from Atlantic City. And then on day 4, she goes, "Are you still smoking cigars?"
She kept catching me on the deck, and then she makes jewelry. She was at the pause walk, and I had to step out of her little tent, and she goes, "No, you smoke cigars now."
It's not a casual
Day 4, this is not,
Right. Usually one of two things happen when someone comes back from a trip with me, and this happened to our friend Jimmy Dunn, where he came back and he was talking around his wife like we speak to each other.
Yeah, that's bad.
And then she goes, "You've been with Tony, haven't you?" He goes, "Yeah, like for a week we were, it was me and Tony."
You need to go to a place for like a couple days.
You need to decompress. Right. It's like getting the Tony Benz.
Yeah, it's not. You can't just come right out of that.
No, you need a little secure.
You're really
room.
not good. It's fit for polite company. For at least 72 hours.
No, and let's be honest with people too. If they heard our conversations when we weren't in public,
right,
we would all be in jail. We'd be arrested. It's funny when you read these things about this guy said this and the Twitter sphere is in an uproar. I go, oh man, the Twitter sphere would explode if they hung around with us.
Well, it's funny. I look at I write about 4 jokes. I'm at Jim McCue on Twitter every day.
Right.
And I look at what people are. Thank goodness I'm not famous. Because when they go back through 10 years of my tweets, I'm going to be a hit and over.
No, right.
I'll be more famous for what they find on me. And also, I look at the tweets that they get mad at, and I think, well, I could think of a much more horrible way to write that.
I could tell that. That's mild.
That's,
Right. Now, let's tell people some of your accomplishments. As I said in your intro, you are entrepreneurial in spirit as well as being a fine and talented comedian. You are the head founder and owner of the Boston Comedy Festival.
Going into our 20th year, Tony.
20th year
Yes.
of the Boston Comedy Festival. Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. Since I was with you at the beginning, and
Yeah.
you didn't know if we were going to make 3 days.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We didn't know what. We still
later.
don't know. We never know. But me and Tony went up to Montreal and we did a show called the Boston Tea Party.
Your idea again.
Yep.
Where there's a big festival in Montreal called Just for Laughs.
Well, I misunderstood. A guy we both know, Barry Katz, who's a big agent manager type guy.
Owns show
He did a show called New Faces up there.
Right.
And they made it part of the festival. And then, and this is like, we're talking 25 years ago.
Yeah,
the next year they did, now I kept going up there because there's so much great comedy.
Right. Oh, it's a great festival if you can take it
The next year they did a big gay show, which at the time was very edgy 24 years ago.
Edge, yeah.
And that became a big hit. So then I called and I was like, we have all these great acts in Boston. Will you come see them? And they're like, we just go to New York or LA.
Right.
So I thought, well, we'll bring all our guys up there. And of course, they hated me.
Right. They hated
We sold out every show.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I didn't just mildly go up there. I got a classic rock station to sponsor me.
Oh, yeah.
I got Molson, one of the beer companies.
Yeah, one of the beer companies had us. We were in the attic of the pub St. Paul in the Old Port in Montreal.
In hindsight, if I just subtly did a show that was a hit, it would have been all right.
Right.
But
and in the middle of all this, if memory serves, we got the pick of the weekend during their festival.
Yes, we did.
Like a big photo of the tea party and all of that. So they were none too pleased with you and by extension me. We tried to get into the parties and they wouldn't let us in.
Yes.
And
which we're totally accustomed to, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, please.
I could write a book on the parties I have been kept out of.
Yeah, I am so used to and almost embrace being the turd in the punch bowl.
I can't even get on a plane, Tony. It's like, group A, B, C, D, anyone with a wheelchair, anyone in the military. And then it's like, okay, everyone board, everyone except for Jim McCue. Everyone under 6'6". No Irish people with coach tickets allowed. If you're a Libra, you're not allowed on the plane yet. I'm like, this feels really personal to me.
You know, it's funny. It's funny when people think of comedians and they, you know the top tier of comedians, they think it's this life of, thousands or hundreds of thousands of fans and selling this out. Right. And then there's the workaday guys like us, and we're just, we're number 3 on the show.
We're Joe Lunch Pail.
Right. And
we show up, it's going to be a bucket of blood, and we just open up and go, all right, let's do this.
Well, let's hope they turn off the basketball game so we can do our little show here. But they don't know what it's like. And you do.
Do you feel like you're getting to the point now where they go, you're going to turn the basketball game off, and they say no, and you go, but you're going to pay me, right? Like you're the guy who's going to spar with Rocky, and you're like, he's going to kill you, but you're like, but you're still going to pay me, right?
Right. I'll get up there and I'll take my lumps, but there's got to be some cash at the end of the night. You also work with the USO, the military, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is it the USO or is it another group?
Well, I have done USO gigs, but again, a lot of your USO gigs are famous people.
Right.
Most of I got a couple. I went out as part of the Boston Tea Party. I think you were on the show probably. We went to L.A. to the Improv.
Oh, yeah.
And an agent who booked for the Department of Defense, which is the mothership of that the USO actually works under.
Yeah.
Started booking us into Bosnia and Kosovo and all those places back, at the end of Clinton's term. It was around the year 2000, I guess. Right. And then this guy, Jim Shore, saw me, and he used to run the whole European theater. And because I make fun of people in the audience, I used to host the Battle of Bands in Germany every year, which is all military people.
Right.
And so then, from there,
That was that, right? And then you do, and so you've done that. And
I've done everywhere you can imagine, including obviously Iraq and Afghanistan, but also Iceland and Greece and Italy and
you can go on Jim's Facebook
Japan
page
and Korea and
see you actually in helicopters and with the gear on behind a machine.
Well, that was because I'm a little kid. I'm basically a 12-year-old.
Who isn't?
I'm like so they're going to give you a small per diem. I'm like, but is there a chance we could be on helicopters? You know, I did. I'm working on this graphic novel about comedy stories and jokes and stuff right now. And one of the things I put in that I didn't forget, you know, you look back at things. Me and Joey Carroll are both our mutual friends.
Good friend. I hope to have him do this.
One of our running jokes was everywhere we went, they'd say, "This is an M1A1 tank. It's 80 tons. It can hit within 20 miles, 2 meters, whatever." You know, they give you the
whatever it is.
And at the end of their spiel, where they tell you all about it, they'd say, "Are there any questions?" I would always raise my hand and go, "Can I shoot it?" And they go, "No, sir. No, absolutely not." I go, "What do you count the shells?" And they're like, "Yes, we do count the shells. They're plutonium tipped. Blah 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 blah." I go, "Listen,
they're probably worth.
I've been to the city. It's all shut up. You're not going to notice another building with a hole in it, pal." Then we go to the next base. It's awesome. Like truck mounted mortars, right? Same thing. The spiel, truck mounted mortar, 5 mile radius, and then we get to Fallujah. It's all Marines, and then this is small arms, you know, rifles and stuff. Because those really questions. Can we shoot him? And I expect him to say no. He goes, "Bring these guys down range." Oh my gosh! They're going to listen. So now we're on the back of a Hummer with a rifle, you know, but it's got a belt feeder, and you can't. I don't know how many shells. I just squeeze the trigger, and bullets are bouncing everywhere around me until the belt goes through. Right, and now there's a young soldier standing 3 feet behind me with binoculars. He never moves, and I go, "Did I hit anything?" And he goes, "Sir, you hit everything." I was like, "That's the funniest thing that's ever happened to me."
We got a commercial coming up. Tell people quickly how they can find you.
JimMcCue.com, at Jim McCue on Twitter.
And we'll be back for the duel after these.
You're listening to Dueling Comedians. Oh, man. Now streaming on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. This wicked pissa show will be right back.
This is David Garofalo, and you've heard me say it over and over again for many years. Please support your local cigar retailer. And I mean it. If you don't buy from them, they will go away, and then what? There'll be no place to go. That being said, sometimes you're far away from any cigar shops or a place that doesn't carry the stuff you've been hearing about and you want to try it. That's where twoguyscigars.com comes in. It's the number twoguyscigars.com. And unlike most online cigar shops, at twoguyscigars.com, you can buy a single cigar of whatever you want. You don't have to buy boxes or even 5-packs and suffer through cigars you might not even like. One of this and one of that is acceptable, appreciated, and commonplace at twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2guyscigars.com. Thank you for your business.
It would seem as though we are still here, which is a good thing. That's how I judge a good show.
Yeah, usually when they cut the commercial, I'm in my car.
You hear someone go, "Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thank you." Before we get into the meat of the duel, and I don't know if you know why you're here exactly, but someone is going to either retain or go home with the coveted trophy.
I did not know there was a I would have stretched if I knew there was going to be a trophy.
And you can see right on it, it says Dueling Comedians coveted trophy.
Aha.
So that's what's at stake here. And to help us get to that point is my sidekick, Laugh Track Larry.
Hey.
How are you today, Larry?
I'm kind of hyped up. Too much coffee.
You're a little jazzed, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he runs a month.
Is this the kind of energy we can depend on throughout the contest?
That's exactly how
this is a high water mark for where...
Yeah. I am high energy today.
Okay.
Yeah, this is as animated as I've seen him. Usually we have
I guess giving you a sedative would be redundant, huh, Larry? That'd be...
I could use one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we have to put a mirror under his nose.
I understand.
Just to make sure he's still with us. But he is the keeper of the laughs. So one more time, how can people find you if they have to? Where can they look for you? if they want to
please
see
go
you?
to. I read a bunch of jokes, and you may hear a couple of them fail here. At Jim McCue on Twitter.
Right.
And my site is jimmccue.com.
Jim McCue. And they can go to the Boston Comedy Festival.
Oh, Boston Comedy Festival. Sure. We're doing a big show in the Greater Boston Stage Company in Stoneham.
Oh, nice.
On February 9th.
Beautiful.
Very excited about that.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh. You know what that music means?
I think something's about to begin.
Yeah, it's time for the duel. This is why you're actually here.
Okay.
This is why we're all amped up.
I feel like I've been set up. I read a lot of weird facts, Tony. I read a fact recently that your average person loses about 8 pounds of dead skin per year, which is why it takes 25 years to get rid of a congressman.
I read recently, because I read myself every now and again, musicians, this is the thing that bummed me out. Musicians get to write songs as gifts to their loved ones.
No kidding.
Yeah. What chance do the rest of us have? Honey, here's a Hummel.
All right, I just read this factoid on Facebook. There was a guy who murdered his wife and posted the pictures of the murder on Facebook. And I thought his relationship status must be, it's complicated.
I was doing a gig in Framingham, Massachusetts, right next to a tattoo parlor that had an actual sign that said, "Tattoos while you wait." And I thought, what are the other options? Plus, it said, tattoos make a really good gift. You really got to know the person you're gifting to give them a tattoo. Honey, I love you, but you'd look better with the Roadrunner right on your neck.
Tony, I don't know if you noticed this, but I have just lost 68 pounds.
Really?
Yes. I've been stalking a jogger.
I recently, this really crawled up my butt for no particular reason. I was in New York City, which I hate immensely, and I was smoking a cigar.
Right.
Unobtrusively. I find a nice place where I'm not bothering anybody. I'm outside in New York City smoking a cigar. 30 feet away, a woman comes up and starts with the, waving in front of her mouth, coughing like it was the worst. I go, lady, we're in New York City. Within 60 feet of you in any direction, there's someone being sodomized against their will right this second. There's a bus and a tractor trailer spewing filth into the air, and my cigar is the problem?
Tony, I stopped doing politics on stage. It's I just feel as a country we need to find compromise, and nobody's doing it. I was talking about immigration. And I realize half the country, everybody wants to let everybody in the country, and the other half wants to build a wall and keep every single person out. And I thought to myself, instead of building a wall, which is a very negative thing, I thought, let's build a bridge, which is a very positive thing, right from Mexico to Canada.
Well, bringing up Canada, not one of my favorite places in the whole world. I like to think of it as America's attic. It's a place where people go to smoke without getting into trouble. And here's how I know I've never latched onto the Canadian culture, and if there is any.
Right.
In the history of eating out, this has never been said. What do you feel like eating tonight? Canadian. Italian? Nope. Canadian. Chinese? Nope. They got no food. They got the beer and poutine. That's pretty much it. Well, and there it is. Just that simple.
That's it?
That's it. Nobody gets hurt.
What's the
good.
voting process here? This has to go, the accounting firm of We Cheatham and Howe will...
No, it goes to the accounting firm of Laugh Track Larry, who I've never seen, let me just say, this is like our 4th or 5th show, and I've never seen him this jazzed. He's like amped up beyond control.
I was laughing very hard.
Thank you, Larry. I'm glad to hear it. Do we have... So, again, that means...
A decision's been reached already? That's not good when the jury comes back that fast.
No, he deliberated with himself.
It was not an easy decision.
I hate when he says that. I hate when he says that.
You both were very funny.
Oh, we're funny.
However, the trophy needs to stay with Tony V.
Well...
Wow.
I can accept it, Tony. For you, I can accept it.
Jim, I got to say, you are a worthy adversary. And on top of that, a good friend. And I thank you for doing the show. Again, how can they find you before we leave?
They can go to @Jim McCue on Twitter and jimmccue.com. And if they want to see me, if they want Boston Comedy Festival, we came up with this really weird name, bostoncomedyfestival.com.
Wow, that's odd how you do that.
Very hard to remember all that.
And if you're on any cruise ship or in the military, chances are you're going to bump into Jim. And keep listening, watching here on the UPN network, and like us on Facebook, and it'll leak to everybody. So come back and see us at Dueling Comedians. Thanks a lot.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.